Welcome to First Parish, Needham Unitarian Universalist. I am Bob Smart, a member since the early 1980s. First Parish is a Unitarian Universalist congregation founded in 1711. The church welcomes everyone who wants to worship and socialize with us. It is certified as a welcoming congregation, a green sanctuary, and as a level 2 sanctuary supporting congregation for our work in immigration reform and anti-deportation efforts. Whether you're a first-time visitor or a lifelong member, you can learn more about all that's happening at First Parish by going out to our website, uuneedham.org, or following us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. The coronavirus pandemic has forced us to close our doors. We are gathering online only, as recommended by health officials and state and local government. We will open again once it's safe to do so. We encourage everyone to engage with one another through video and phone calls during this time, and to find other ways to be connected, even as we keep our distance. Our Sunday services are pre-recorded by our staff and worship volunteers and streamed on Sunday mornings so we can connect, at least online. Our First Parish community has become creative about how we can stay in touch and renew our spirits without meeting in person. And we hope that you have been plugging into our Zoom gathering opportunities throughout the week. For example, you are invited to our Zoom social hour directly following this worship service. There is a link to the social hour in your Saturday Bell Notes email.
This morning we light our chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, with a prayer titled, "We Remember Them," written by Sylvan Commons and Rabbi Jack Reamer, published in the Jewish Prayer Book. We hope you will join with us to make it a unison experience by saying, as I indicate, "We remember them." At the rising of the sun and its going down,
we remember them.
At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter,
we remember them.
At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring,
we remember them.
At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer,
we remember them.
At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn,
we remember them.
At the beginning of the year and when it ends,
we remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength,
we remember them.
When we are lost and sick at heart,
we remember them.
When we have joy we crave to share,
we remember them.
When we have decisions that are difficult to make,
we remember them.
When we have achievements that are based on theirs,
we remember them.
As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. We light this chalice because we remember them.
Good morning. Let's join together in our mutual call to worship this morning. It's number 583 in your gray hymnal if you would like to follow along at home. It's called The Young Dead Soldiers, and it's written by Archibald MacLeish. The words also will appear on your screen if you'd like to follow along with me now. Let's read together for this Memorial Day. The Young Dead Soldiers. The young dead soldiers do not speak. Nevertheless, they are heard in the still houses. Who has not heard them? They have a silence that speaks for them at night and when the clock counts. They say, "We were young, we have died, remember us." They say, We have done what we could, but until it is finished, it is not done. They say, we have given our lives, but until it is finished, no one can know what our lives gave. They say, our deaths are not ours, they are yours. They will mean what you make them. They say, whether our lives and our deaths were for peace and a new hope, or for nothing, we cannot say. It is you who must say this. They say, we leave you our deaths. Give them their meaning. We were young, they say. We have died. Remember us. Let's join together now in our opening hymn, number 346 in your gray hymnal, Come Sing a Song with Me. It was written by Carolyn McDade, a feminist activist and a Unitarian Universalist songwriter. Let's join together and the words will appear on your screen. Come sing a song with me.
In Unitarian Universalist tradition, First Parish has a covenant. It is a statement of our goals and promises to each other. Please say along with me from home the words of our parish covenant, which are printed in your emailed order of service. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world. Though we cannot gather in person during this time, we are trying to live up to these promises every day.
I want to share with you a story about a little girl who lived in North Dakota. Tonka Iron Eyes was curious. There were a lot of trucks on the road near her home, and on the trucks were machines for digging up the earth. Tonka Ironsides had grown up on the Standing Rock Indian Reservation in North Dakota, and she had just turned 13 years old. There was a lake near her home, and the lake waters joined the Snake River, and the Snake River joined the Missouri River, not that far from Standing Rock. So Tonka knew that water was life for her people, and all the life of all the people on all of the world. She knew water was life. And she knew that the waters of the Missouri River flowed into the Mississippi River, and the waters of the Mississippi River flowed into the Gulf of Mexico, where it joined all the oceans of the whole world. Tonka Ironsides knew her lake was connected. And through her lake, the waters gave life to her people and to all the plants and animals that she knew from walking around her home and all the area beyond that, but all the way to the whole world, because water is life. So she talked to her friends about the trucks out there, and they all hiked out and looked at the construction, the trucks and the tractors. What are they building? What is going on? The children asked the adults back home. No one knew. So Tonka Ironsides went to the library, and the librarian helped her look on the computer. And she discovered that those trucks out there were working to build a pipeline. And that pipeline, according to the computer, was going to go right under her lake. And everybody on the reservation didn't know anything about it. Go right under the lake. So she looked at the computer about pipelines, and there were many, many stories about pipelines leaking. Have you ever seen a leaky faucet? So she told the children, and they started to tell their parents and their uncles and their aunts, and no one knew what to do. And finally, they told their grandparents, the oldest people in the village. And their grandparents talked to each other, and they came back and they said, we know what to do. We will tell our friends, and they will tell their friends all across this continent. And they will and we will say we're saying no, and water is life. We must defend our Mother Earth, and our friends will join us. Until the whole people of the whole world join in saying, no, water is life. And they did. They did. And more people are saying we must protect our waters. Water is life. This was all because Tonka Ironsides was curious.
We've come to the time in our service when we share joys and concerns that are very close to our hearts and lives. In this new format, joys and sorrows are emailed to me by Thursday night, and I will share them aloud and light candles for you all. As we are making the link to our virtual Sunday services public and open to all visitors, be aware that we cannot guarantee that news shared in joys and concerns will stay within the First Parish community. So if you wish to share in a more private setting, I encourage you to reach out to me or to our Pastoral Care Associate of the Week, whose name is included in your emailed order of service. Let us now hear the joys and sorrows of our community. A Candle of Joy from Claire and Jan G., who celebrated their 8th wedding anniversary last week on May 12th. They're grateful for the joys of 2 to the power 3 years. Their candle is also one of gratitude for the conclusion of an illness that had made Jan's winter and early spring less than optimal, and gratitude for the amount of meaningful statistical work Jan has found in all the numbers surrounding the current pandemic. The work isn't paid, but it means a lot for the populations who need it. A candle of sorrow from me, Sally, for George Frisell, a beloved hometown teacher who died quite suddenly last week. His course on comparative religions played a huge part in setting me on the path toward ministry, and he will be very much missed. A candle of gratitude for a generous member of this congregation who has made an anonymous donation to our minister's discretionary fund, which is the fund used to provide direct financial aid to our community in the form of grocery gift cards and help paying bills. It means so much that even in this time of financial uncertainty, we are still able to live our values with such abundance and generosity. A candle of celebration and gratitude. Last week, the minister of the UU congregation in Taunton, Mass., reached out to say that their community was being hit hard by this virus, especially families coping with homelessness and severe financial need. Much of their community couldn't buy masks and couldn't go to grocery stores or food banks without them. Kids were being turned away from picking up their free school lunch because they didn't have masks to wear. The mask makers here at First Parish sprang into action, and just 2 days after hearing the request for help, drove a donation of 146 face masks to Taunton, 101 adult masks and 45 child size. The Taunton minister wrote in response, "Your actions have made the love of this faith visible in this little corner of Massachusetts. In a world that is filled with fear right now, you have helped make people safer. Thank you." And I light one final candle for all the joys and sorrows that are still carried quietly in our hearts. During this time of physical separation, let us not forget that we are still deeply interconnected and bound together through mutual love, support, and commitment to each other.
This congregation has been supported by contributions from its members and friends since its founding 309 years ago. This is the time in our service when we give what we can to build and sustain our church, its community, and the world we envision. For most of May, our plate collection is being divided equally between First Parish and the Needham Diversity Initiative, which is a local nonprofit committed to celebrating, exploring, and strengthening Needham's diversity. To donate to today's offering, you can use one of 3 different vehicles: smartphone, check, or website. With a smartphone, you can use our new Text to Give program. Just put in the phone number 73256 and text to that number UU Needham space plate space and then the $ with the amount that you'd like to give, all in one message. If you want your money applied to your pledge for the current fiscal year, please text instead at the same number 73256 with UU Needham, pledge 20, the $, and the amount you'd like to give. And if you missed these instructions, you should be able to find them in yesterday's emailed order of service. If you prefer to mail First Parish a check, please make it out to First Parish in Needham, put the date and the word collection in the memo line, and then mail your check to First Parish at 23 Dedham Avenue, Needham, Massachusetts, 02492. If you want the money applied to your pledge for this fiscal year, put FY20 in the memo line. You can use the church website, uuneedham.org, to make your donation. There is a giving button in the upper right corner with a drop-down menu where you'll find an entry labeled Donate Now. Following that link, sign into your Realm account and you'll be able to fill in your donation information and choose a recipient fund for its destination, such as plate collection. Thank you for everything that you can give to support and sustain this congregation and the vital work of our community partners. Please take these next few minutes to give what you can. Your gift will be gratefully received.
My reading for this morning is from George Tiger's Memoirs of Being a Chaplain in the U.S. Army. George is serving as a chaplain. He's a Unitarian Universalist minister. He's been in the Army over 15 years as a chaplain. I knew him in theological school, so this is his story. He has many little anecdotes and I'm going to include one. I think it tells us something about service and the humility of service. So he's coming back from Afghanistan, or on the way back to Afghanistan, and he's at the Atlanta, Georgia airport. The first stop on U.S. soil after deployment is the airport. From there, it's all downhill until you get to see your family and loved ones again. The airport is its own scene when you're a soldier and you're in uniform. On my trip home, I'm reminded of the last time I was in the airport, returning home from Afghanistan with 2 weeks of R&R. R&R, that's what we call rest and relaxation leave. In my memory, I walked through the crowded airport, and I am tired and I'm feeling very sorry for myself. I'm certainly not in a mood to shake hands and play happy, grateful soldier one more time. I have to admit, I have become weary of the people coming up to me and saying, "Thank you for your service." Handshakes, I understand this and all that. I understand the sentiment and I appreciate the gesture, but sometimes you really need to get to the bathroom. And when I see a group of elementary school students holding up signs and clapping, my heart sinks. I need to go, not shake hands, and there seems to be no good way to avoid it. They have chosen the only clear path to the restroom, and they're setting up a greeting line. I make a wide arc and I head for my destination. Then from out of the crowd, a kindly looking older lady in a USO shirt yells at me, "Sir, would you please come and talk to them? Just a few words, just a few words. It would mean so much." All the eyes are suddenly on me. I can't avoid them now. My name is clearly emblazoned on my chest. And I can see the headline in the newspaper. "Chaplain Tiger, U.S. Army, runs away from children in display of ingratitude." I turn and I walk toward them. "Hi guys, where are you from? What are your names? What brings you out today?" I smile and do my duty. "We just want to say thanks," one student says. "We really appreciate your sacrifice." Frankly, I've never considered my service a sacrifice. I'm well paid to do this job, and I really love what I do. Two things many people in the world cannot say. Privilege it is. Yes, honor, certainly, but sacrifice just doesn't feel that way to me. Sometimes I wade into the crowd of kids and make some typical small talk soldiers make in these situations. I share little pieces of information, but never allow anything like a real conversation to develop. I guess there are some things only soldiers will understand. The real sacrifices we make, the sorrow, the fear, the loneliness, the questions that will remain unanswered, these are not things we share with young people at airports. As I talk to the kids, I give my usual "I'm just a soldier" speech. I've recited it so many times in so many airports. I tell them how much it means for me that they have come out to thank us and how important it is for us to hear that they appreciate us. I look at their faces as they gather in close, shake my hand, and ask their questions with wide-eyed curiosity. And then something strange happens. I feel my voice crack. A lump forms in my throat. My eyes feel strangely wet, and the words come out difficult from my mouth. I really need to get myself out of there fast before I break down. "Well, guys, I really got to go," are the only words I manage to speak as I turn and walk away. Something about that encounter gets to me. Maybe it's just those kids remind me of my own. Maybe it's a genuineness of their appreciation or the way they look up to me just because I wear a uniform. There is nothing special about me. I'm just a guy lucky enough to wear a uniform and do a job I love. For that moment, a fleeting moment, I truly appreciate what I do in a more genuine way than I ever have felt before The appreciation means something. It means something when I ponder it. As I walk out of the bathroom, I think of all the big geopolitical issues I heard on the news at home. I think of the political pundits making up ill-informed judgments about the value of our mission, the chances of success, and even the ultimate meaning of soldiers' sacrifices. Like they really know what they're talking about. Looking at those kids' eyes, all those questions vanished, and I recognized a very simple truth. Whatever historians may write or pundits pontificate, what we do matters because we stand for more than a single mission, some strategy, or some political goal. Honor, devotion, loyalty, friendship, and yes, sacrifice have meaning and value beyond what any TV talking head or politician may say at the moment. I think it was those values which we have all of us in some way dedicated our lives to, that I see in those kids' eyes, and that neatly brought me to tears. Not an easy thing to do. So ends our reading. So ends the reflections of Chaplain Tiger.
Let's join together now for a time of quiet meditation and prayer. So I invite you to find a comfortable way to be wherever you may be. You may want to sit in a chair or on a couch. You may want to lay on the bed or on the floor. However your body wants to be right now, just find a place and a way for it to be comfortable. And if there's noise in the background, that's okay. Just let it wash over you. All right? So as you feel comfortable, you may want to close your eyes or just let your eyes drop down into a soft focus. Again, however your body wants to be, that's the most important thing right now. And just take a breath. Just take a moment to notice your breath and be grateful for that breath. For we know that the root meaning of spirit is breath, the breath of life. And as you feel comfortable, just notice the points where your body has contact with wherever you are. Contact with a chair, with a couch, with the floor or your bed. And just feel that point of contact. Just notice the sensation of being held or supported. And just notice that sensation while also staying with your breath. You may find that there are parts of your body that are feeling tense this morning. Just bring a healing and inviting warmth and ask those parts if they could relax for this moment. They may not want to, and that's okay. Just continue to extend the warmth of relaxation to any parts that are feeling tense right now. You may want to shrug your shoulders up or roll your neck. We carry a lot of tension in those places. However your body wants to be or to move right now is okay, including stretches. Let the muscles of your face relax, your forehead relax. And if you can, let a half smile come to your lips as I invite the bell to sound 3 times. And then we sit quietly together for a few more seconds before prayer. God, Goddess of many names and no names, many genders and no gender, and whom we know most closely and intimately in our Unitarian Universalist tradition as a precious and mysterious spirit of life and love that moves in us and among us and out into our larger world. We are so grateful this morning for the opportunity to be together once again in this format, to share our joys and our sorrows with one another, to support each other with love and care in this community, this very special and historic community. We are grateful for our bodies and our breath and our health. We are grateful for the health of family and friends, while at the same time we hold close in our hearts those among us who are sick, those among us we have lost, mentors in our lives, those who are recovering from illness, all people who are touched by our community and by our presence in this world. We particularly are grateful this morning that our faith gives us the energy to reach out and share from a place of abundance, that we are able to help other communities through the work of our hands and the love in our hearts. We hold close in this morning our people in the larger community who may be suffering, people in our larger world who are suffering. We hold our prayers as we open our communities, our states, a prayer that this is not so quickly that we will see consequences from this. We are grateful for our board here in this church, guiding our path in these new and challenging times with wisdom. We hold that wisdom will remain available to all of us as we move forward and find our ways in a new journey in these times. And we do know that our love for one another and our faith is a strong one. And together we will find our way. May it always be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Tomorrow is Memorial Day. And here we are, we're living in the midst of a pandemic. But we're told we are at war. The president called himself a war president not too long ago, and the virus is at this stage of this way of speaking. The virus is the enemy. And we are being called to fight it like soldiers in a war. So our marching orders: stay home, shelter in place, except for the healthcare workers and the first responders and the food production workers and the grocery store clerks and the firemen and the policemen. But all of those, of course, are frontline soldiers. And soon we will all be called back to work because of the economy, we are soldiers in a war. Think about that for a while. War, as we know it, has been violence and explosions and people with weapons and people spending long periods of time away from their families, like George Tiger. Yeah, this pandemic is horrible and it strikes fear into our hearts, and it's somehow uniquely horrible because somehow we're just not convinced that what we're doing is like a war. Besides, the longest war the United States has ever been engaged in is going on right now in faraway Afghanistan, scanning 3 presidential administrations, and many people never give it a moment's thought. It's just not part of your thinking, and it hasn't been for a while, I think. Memorial Day. What does it mean to us? Last year, remember last year, if we asked most people what they think of Memorial Day, they might have said, this is the May 3-day weekend. The May 3-day weekend. And Memorial Day marks the official start of summer. And for many people, Memorial Day conjures up images of picnics and barbecues and beaches and just a lazy day off. It's a good chance to get up on a ladder and look at the drain gutters, do some gardening. There are things to do. It's a day to do them. Very few among us recall a community coming together at a graveyard or joining in commemorative events. Memorial Day. Originally, the holiday was charged with deep meaning. Now, the exact origins of Memorial Day are disputed, with at least five towns in the United States claiming to have given birth to the holiday, birth to Memorial Day. We were the first Memorial Day. Sometimes near the Civil War, they had a Memorial Day service in their town, and they're the first. And they may all be right. They all may have the just claim to being the first. The first. In the spring of 1865, in the year concluding that devastating war, that war that was so destructive, that first total war that the United States engaged in, a war fought so close to home, there were whole towns full of grieving people. There were so many mass graves. So many of the young people of that town had gone to war and never come back. The town's burial ground had so many new memorials. And people gathered together on a day near those graves, and they remembered together the first Memorial Days at the very end of the war. Now, these small town celebrations were localized, and they came out of genuine grief, and they foretold of the longing for what would become a Memorial Day celebration, a time of community remembering. But there was more to tell of our story, more to tell. David Bright, a Yale historian, tells the story of an event that took place in April 1865, about maybe a month before all those towns did their celebration, their commemorations on those hills, those graveyards. The war had not formally ended. Union troops occupied Charleston, South Carolina, and in South Carolina, a group of newly emancipated African Americans began digging up a mass grave, a common dump, where bodies of Union soldiers who had died in the Confederate prison that had been set up on a racetrack. They had been herded into that Confederate prison. They had died there. They were buried in a mass grave, and the people of Charleston dug up that mass grave and interred the bodies in individual graves, and worked to identify the individuals who were in those graves and erected a monument stone. And they built 100-yard fence around that graveyard and erected an archway over the entrance bearing the words, "Martyrs of the Racecourse." Historian Bright writes that in May 1st, 1865, some 10,000 African American residents of Charleston joined with white missionaries, teachers, and school children, and Union troops marched around the new memorial grounds, singing and carrying armfuls of roses. Gathering at that graveyard, the crowd watched 5 African American preachers who recited scripture and children who sang spirituals. And that story of that effort on the part of the African American community to honor those who were involved in their emancipation, that story appeared in northern newspapers. Charleston honors those who had given their lives. It was a big story up north. That image was remembered. And then in 1868, General John A. Logan of the Grand Army of the Republic, an organization of former soldiers and sailors, called for the National Declaration Day. In his call, he says that the day would be dedicated to strewing with flowers the graves of comrades who died in the defense of their country during that late rebellion. A major holiday with large numbers going to graveyards every May 30th. The day was so closely linked with the Union cause that many Southerners, communities refused to celebrate it. It's a Northern thing. In the 1920s, the celebration of Memorial Day was expanded to include all who had died in all wars, and only then did Memorial Day become a national holiday. Then, the National Holiday Act of 1971, Congress moved Memorial Day from May 30th to the last Monday in May. And many have pointed out that 3-day weekend just took away the whole intent of the holiday. It just made it an extra day off, a day that has come to be the Memorial Day we don't remember. The size of Memorial Day commemorations have shrunk. Graves are still decorated, and the local TV stations still report the tributes to those returning from their weekends, from those who are returning from the beach. But it is a stretch to say that it is a major day of commemoration. The Boston Memorial Day commemoration this year will not happen in the form that it has been happening for decades. Thousands of flags will be on the Boston Common, and names this year will be read on a TV special. It's the pandemic way of virtuality. This pandemic is taking a greater toll in the United States than all the losses in the last 5 wars. We've lost more people. We will be witnesses to a virtual Memorial Day. And that response that cities from here to the Pacific will be choosing raises some questions for me, not just something to talk about and think about. Because I think as a community, we need holidays. We need days set aside to celebrate, and we also need days set aside to commemorate and remind us of the losses the community has suffered. We have to find community on our own. The official community way of saying things we may find oppressive. I have to say that I experienced losses, real losses, during the Vietnam conflict. Too many losses, including not only those who passed away or died or were killed in Vietnam, but those who were permanently destructed. They came back with loss of legs or loss of mind. And the official Memorial Days of the 1970s seemed to glorify that war, seemed to say that war was wonderful. My community, including many who had come back, had been opponents of that war. We grieved our losses. We remembered. But our Memorial Day was not where the politicians spoke. It was not the celebration where we got the official Memorial Day service. Because we observed our own remembering. Yes, holidays are necessary and meet real human needs. And keeping going in the old ways just because it is the old way doesn't work. May I suggest Memorial Day is a holiday that needs revisioning. Since my Vietnam generation, the United States has seen 2 generations come of age. For those generations, wars were far away and unreported. For them, Memorial Day is just less meaningful. And what Memorial Day accomplished for people in my generation and in generations before that will still be necessary. I believe that remembering is necessary. Community is necessary. Human beings have a need to acknowledge their losses in community. But I believe that generations will evolve new ways that will be different, because the times they are changing. Human communities are created by people who care for each other. Sally Rogers teaches us, love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. Let us sing together.
Let's join together now in our mutual benediction. We will read together the task of the religious community, number 580 in your gray hymnal if you happen to have it at home, or you can watch the words as they go by on your screen and read it with me. It's written by Mark Morrison Reed, an African-American Unitarian Universalist theologian and historian. Let's read together now. The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. It is the Church that assures us that we are not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of a larger community. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together, our vision widens, and our strength is renewed.
As we close our worship today, please remember to keep a careful eye out for emails from First Parish and follow us on social media. This will allow you to keep up with opportunities for connection with your faith community during these times of physical isolation. The Bell Notes provide many opportunities each week, so I encourage you to read them. When today's service ends, you are all invited to join us for our Zoom social hour. There is a link for the social hour in your Sunday Bell Notes. Please remember that if you fall ill or need any pastoral support, you can contact our pastoral care team and caring crew via phone or email. We encourage all of you to check in with your friends at First Parish. Since we can only get together by phone call, email, or video chat, it's important that we have your current contact information. Please check your listing in the online Realm directory, which you can access through the church website. We always extinguish our chalice with words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again. That promise has particular meaning now. As we extinguish our chalice today, please join me from home in saying the words written by Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Elizabeth Selly Jones, as printed in your emailed order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.